So what's going on with Oscar?
Well, as you can tell, he's
Nervous Nelly?
very nervous. Feels like he's like shaking.
Yeah. Is this common when he goes to a new place?
Is this what?
Common when he goes to a new place?
Yeah, so this is like kind of similar to how it is at the vet. Like he shakes around and he like will basically become a statue.
Sure.
But usually like in new places outdoors, it's different. He's very like excited. Oh my gosh, there's so many smells. But like I think when he gets confined into a space like that,
Yeah. You could drop the leash if you want. Let him hang out.
Really nervous.
I gotcha. Okay. Does it ever turn into anything? Like his fear, like does he ever snap or growl or anything like that?
So no, it's like all situational. So it's like at the resource garden.
Yeah.
So it's objects, really needing like his dog food, and like he doesn't like his back end touch. So like if you go and touch his back end, he'll growl and he'll like air snap back at you. It's really all situational. Like he won't come up to you and like growl and start getting at your face.
Yeah.
Because I think he's so scared.
Sure.
But I guess you know, like with other dogs too, he's not really like this, and he kind of ignores them for the most part, but he's very like fixated. Like he sees something and he gets so fixated on things that like I can't get his attention back off of it.
I gotcha.
And I think that's what we struggle with a lot is like, and I think that's where the resource guarding comes in, because it's like really possessive behaviors
Sure.
that he's having.
How old is he?
He will be 3 in May.
Oh, okay. He looks younger than that. He's kind of got like a puppy face still, I feel like.
Yeah.
Okay. And describe some of the resource guarding to me a little bit. Like where do you typically see it? You know, what does he typically do?
So, like for example, if I give him a high value chew and I tell him to take it to your bed, he'll go to his bed. If I were to go over there and try and take it away, he's gonna growl and snap at me.
I gotcha.
Lately, this thing we've been seeing is we'll like sit on the couch and you like move your feet and he's like guarding your feet and he'll snap at your feet. And I don't know if he's like scared of something is gonna happen to him. And so then he'll just go,
I gotcha.
and come near you just to be like, hey, what are you doing?
Is this a recent behavior or has he always done it?
I think when he was a puppy, he resource guarded like a bully stick once, and that's where you saw it. And then it just seems like it's getting worse.
Yeah.
I would say like it's always kind of been there. We've like managed it. I've gone to other trainers, like really the positive side trainers, and so we're kind of at a point where this isn't working and we need to fix it. So I think also with all the possessive behaviors is like, for example, really possessive of my mother-in-law.
Okay.
And so like if he's even near her and her boyfriend walks by, he will be like and snap at him. And it's not even like he did anything, he just walks by.
Yeah.
So
outside of the resource guarding behaviors that you're seeing and some of that like territorial possessiveness, what sorts of other things, like what's his behavior like in the house?
I mean, we live in an apartment, so it was not the ideal situation with his breed.
Sure.
But we're stuck in this situation. He's pretty well like routined. He has his routine inside. I am currently living by myself. My fiance is away for work training.
Sure.
So it's kind of been a change of routine for us.
Yeah,
but,
I gotcha.
He's crate trained. He sleeps in his crate at night.
He's good in the crate?
Yeah, he's good in the crate. He's fine. He doesn't have like moments where he's like freaking out. But if we're at a different place and I put him in the same crate, bring the same blankets, it's like a different story.
Yeah.
And we struggle getting him to go into his crate. At home, it's like you say kennel, and he goes right in. And we have a dog walker that comes twice a week, and they have their routine and everything's been fine.
No problems with them?
No.
Cool.
So.
Okay. Does he have any sort of like negative behavioral things he does in the house? Does he bark out the window a lot, get into things, stuff like that?
No. I would say like the only thing is if he wants attention and like you're not giving it to him, like he wants to play or you're not meeting his needs or something, if he like will grab shoes and play chase away from you. But no, he doesn't chew, he doesn't destroy things, he doesn't pee or like poop in the house, so there's nothing to chew.
Yeah.
He doesn't like sit out the window and bark at dogs.
Good.
If there's like loud noises inside, he'll bark, but he'll go to the door and like bark down.
Yeah.
That's about it.
So a lot of times when I see situations like this where the dog is like typically speaking, pretty good in the home. You take them outside anywhere else, they're kind of shut down a little bit more or less and get really nervous about stuff. The problem is he's comfortable in the house, right? He has his routines in the house, and as long as nothing diverts from those routines, he's cool, right? Any sort of change to that, anything that stresses him out, he has no idea how to cope with that. And in the home, because he's so comfortable and because he's so confident in the home, he's more apt to act on those fears in a negative manner, right? Outside of the home, he shuts down. He's like, I don't know what to make of this situation. I don't know how to handle myself in this situation, right? And so he doesn't have that confidence behind those fears, but it's coming from the same place in either. It's coming from the same place in either way, right? So in a case like this, camera, right? Why don't you grab his leash real quick there, just in case. Paige suddenly starts scaring him, you know? But now that
will happen. So he starts to gain,
he's gained, that's what I was just gonna say, he's gained some confidence in the context of this scenario because we let him kind of explore and we let him do his own thing and stuff. And now suddenly it's like, oh, well now I've been scared of this the whole time, but now I'm a little bit more confident, so I'm gonna react. So it's funny his timing behind doing that, because that's exactly what I was just describing. You know what I mean? So the thing is, how we start to work through these situations is we gain leadership and control over the dog. So when we come into these new scenarios, instead of going in and just being like, here you go, bud, decide if you're okay or not with this kind of stuff, we could go in and we could communicate with him, hey, I know you're scared of this place, but you gotta come in here, right? I know that you're concerned about what she's doing over there, but I need you to ignore her and focus on this right now, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And what happens is it starts to desensitize him to those things because we're splitting his brain and essentially taking like 50% of it and focusing it on a task. So he only has half of it left to worry about what's going on over there, right? And it gains some leadership capital for us where he starts knowing when I'm scared, I look to mom for that guidance. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how all this stuff starts to come together. And then obviously as we progress further along, you know, we start being in a position to start disciplining for some of these behaviors and stuff like that. So basically what we're gonna do today is gonna be just kind of baseline leash work, you know, getting some basics established with him and stuff like that, just kind of see what we get with things. Is he pretty food motivated or no? Hit or miss?
It depends on the situation.
When he's stressed, I'm assuming he's not.
When he's stressed, he will not even like take a treat.
Yeah.
And I can try. And he'll do that.
Uninterested.
And he's not interested.
No problem.
But he's very play motivated.
Yep.
And like sniffing motivated.
Sure.
So he just wants to like
get that nose working.
Yeah, their breed is for a job. He loves having a job.
Yeah.
He's very, very intelligent,
Sure.
which I think has made a lot of these issues.
Yeah.
Because it's like he'll learn these bad behaviors, and then I can't like figure out how to change it.
Now, one other question. When he does these guarding and territorial behaviors that you're seeing out of him, has he ever actually like injured you before biting you or anything like that?
Not me. So we had one bite on Snookus.
He's like, no thanks.
One bite incident with my father-in-law. This just happened a couple weeks or like months ago.
Yeah.
So he was in a new place. He's now maybe met him like twice, so he doesn't know him. And his wife was in the kitchen, and I had left quickly, and they like came in the house really fast and kind of just like chaos. And the kitchen was really small, and she was standing like here, and he came in, and I guess before that he was humping her, and I didn't know that. So he became like possessive at that point. And then he just came in, and then what he did was he was standing in between a counter and him. And then I heard him growl, but I didn't have enough time to like. And he went and put his hand on top of his head and he growled.
Sure.
And then he went back up.
Got him.
Got him like that. So that's the only like time that I've seen him get to that point. And, like, he gives.
And in that situation, was there like a punctures or anything?
It was like a smaller puncture right here and like a scratch.
I gotcha.
So it wasn't
not as bad as it could be.
It wasn't like an aggressive. Like, I'm gonna rip your.
I understand. Okay. And you mentioned he was humping the human.
Yes.
Is that something common that you'll see with him?
So he doesn't like go up and hump people, but if you're playing toys with him. And like you're not throwing it fast enough is what I'm understanding. Like, or it seems more like stuff like long toys. He'll just come up and he'll like hump you over and try and make you
Okay.
If you're playing with a toy. At that time,
I got you.
That's what had happened, but
Okay.
And there, he does like hump other dogs, like especially female dogs, so it's gonna.
Yeah, that is not as much, you know, with dogs, like that's, we look at it weird, it's kind of normal dog communication, you know, so I don't have as much of a problem with that, but when it's shown towards people, that's definitely something we want to address, so.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. Why don't you do this? I'm gonna have you come walking by me. When you walk by me, just hand me the leash. I'll take the leash from you, and we'll be good to go.
This one. Okay.
Thank you. So I'm just gonna bring him over here, hang out with him for a minute. Let him just hang out with me for a second here. Those lasso skills, you know?
See, I feel like I feel the tensing up.
Sure.
Or I can just like see it in his body language. So
Sure.
it's like,
Oh, he's uncomfortable for sure, you know? A lot of this initially, if I'm working with a dog like this, like if I was really concerned about like a serious bite risk or something like that, we would use a muzzle or something for this. But right now, you know, worst case scenario, and again, I accept the responsibility if for whatever reason, he realistically could try to bite me right now, right? But a lot of times what typically would happen in a scenario like this, they turn around and start barking at me or something like that. But I'm making sure that everything that I'm doing is not putting a ton of pressure on him. So I'm avoiding eye contact with him right now. I'm not towering over him and going to him. If I need to get him to me, I'm making him come to me, which usually reduces a lot of stress and association with the situation, you know? So I'm checking as many of the boxes as I can initially to keep him as comfortable as possible, you know? He's like, I don't like that you're here though. Kind of testing how he responds to things startling him, obviously. Come here, bud. How's he at the vet?
He will get like how he just came in. He's very scared, and like we've recently gone to the vet a lot actually.
Yeah.
For this issue with his neutering and his blood. So.
What was the issue?
So he has macroplatelets, and they're concerned about his blood clotting factors.
Yeah.
So they're not wanting to do surgery due to complications from bleeding out.
I understand.
So we just had to get a blood test done.
Yeah.
And they said every time he goes in, they said he's fine. He's like a statue.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting because like if I go to touch his leg, like I'll try and do things with him to be like, hey, we're gonna go to the vet and take
Sure.
blood. I can hold his leg for maybe like 3 seconds before he'll like growl at me and
Sure.
snap. So he's always been fine there.
Have you ever used a muzzle with him before?
No.
No. We'll probably want it for safe purposes, get him conditioned to one throughout the program, you know? Because things like that, like getting him to a place where you could start doing these things without that, like, well, I could do it for a little bit and then he gives me a hard time with it kind of thing, you know? Like you as his owner, you have to be able to ultimately do these things, right? Because if we have a dog where we're like stepping on eggshells around, or else like he's gonna try to bite us or something like that, like that's no life to live for anybody, obviously. And we could get him past these things, especially if they're coming from a place of fear. He's just gotta realize that those behaviors don't work. 9 out of 10 times, these behaviors get extremely like intensified over the course of the years because it's so self-reinforcing. He's scared and he learns that if he reacts in that manner, we stop. The scary thing stops.
And that's what, and I can 100% see,
you know?
he was a puppy.
Yep.
And then 6 months stage, like fear stage, and it's like.
Yeah, sure. What did I do with that prong collar? Oh, here it is. Couple links out of there. And just taking my time with all this stuff here. Is he cool with you like putting collars and stuff on him?
Yeah.
No problems? Good.
We never really had collars on him.
Yeah.
The most, I brought him the collar that we like do put on sometimes, but I mostly just use the harness.
Yeah. Is it just like a regular collar, the one that you usually use? Yeah.
It's just like one of these.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So this is gonna be the collar you're gonna start walking on him, or walking him with, I should say. Harnesses, obviously, you know, if you don't have any training and stuff like that, it's the safest option for the dog because they're not putting a lot of pressure on like their neck and stuff, right? But they don't do anything, unfortunately, to deter behavior, you know? So that's why we always kind of get them fitted up with a training collar here because we could actually start to teach them stuff with it. And again, with a lot of this kind of stuff, you just got to be aware of just taking your time with these things, right? Again, I'm not super concerned he's going to nail me, right? Like if he wanted to, I'm sure he could, you know? And again, when I work with dogs like this, I assume that risk if it were to happen, but we've worked with enough dogs like this to know, like as long as you work through things in a particular way, you could really sidestep a lot of those triggers, you know? So I took my time getting him fitted up and everything, and you know, he's gotten a little bit more comfortable with being with me. So now that we have him fitted, we could start the training process here. So like I said, today is going to be all about just introducing this collar and just teaching him what it means, right? So the problem with a lot of dogs is they view the leash as something that's just a restraint. It's something that's holding them back from getting to the things they want to get to or getting away from the things they want to get away from, right? So we want to teach them that the leash is information. It means to do different things. So what I'm going to do in a minute here is I'm going to start walking him around randomly around the room. Anytime he tries to veer off in one direction, I'll stop, apply steady pressure in my direction with the leash. The second he moves with that pressure and gives way to it, I'll like actively release the pressure on my own, letting him know that was correct, right? That's what turns this off, so he can start to realize that he's in control of that pressure, right? So I'm gonna walk him away from here. I'll have you go ahead and take a seat here, get comfortable, and we're gonna start this process. So again, walking around here, applying pressure, releasing pressure. Applying pressure, releasing pressure. Pressure, releasing. lot of this is I want you really shifting that mentality of I'm getting you under control right now. You really have to have that kind of almost like hard ass mentality initially about some of this, just until you start to get it under control so that we could enjoy him more later on. You know what I mean? Because I mean, you could just tell he's really pushing you around right now. I could, you know, it was interesting just the contrast between when I was working him and when you were, you know? So what I'm gonna do here, I'll have you hang out here. I'm gonna walk him up and down the parking lot a couple times. And what I'm gonna do is kind of like what we were doing inside, where when he gets distracted, I'm gonna do a turn with a leash pop to get his attention back on me. So kind of like that. No. I just want to try to shift a little bit more of this attention onto me. You see I'm starting to be able to go like further and further without losing his attention. And again, this isn't going to totally fix it. As we progress along, we'll be able to proof this better, but I'm just trying to get a little bit more control. And I want to see like that, see how he turned with me on that one. Just more handler awareness. Good job, buddy. Okay. Sit. Good job. Not too shabby. Oh yeah, for sure. We've worked with harder dogs than him. I mean, listen, like he's a little bit of a pain, you know, you can tell. But the problem is, and here's the thing, right? It's coming from a place of fear, right?
Yeah, and that's 100%.
The problem is, in those fearful states, he's just really learned that he can make himself more confident by pushing you around. And that's really where the root of the problems are coming from. And that's why he's starting to display some of these more like dangerous behaviors towards you guys, you know? It's just because if he thinks that when he gets scared, right, of outside things, he could push you around to give himself confidence. When he gets scared of things that you're doing, because he already knows that he can control you guys, he's going to equally let you guys know that he doesn't like those things as well, where those things should be flipped, right? It's my job to tell you when I don't like what you're doing. Vice versa. We were just talking about that earlier. That guy drives me bonkers. Lost my train of thought. But yeah, so it should be the other way around. We should be the one telling our dog when we don't like what they're doing. They shouldn't be telling us when they don't like what we're doing. You know what I mean? And that's why, like I said, it sounds harsh or mean or whatever, but like you have to have that kind of like I'm in charge now mentality initially, you know, just to reshift that relationship and start to recalibrate it a little bit, you know? So, what you think, buddy? Do you have any questions on any of that? I mean, that's really going to be the big things you're working on right now. So you're healing, obviously, stability in your position. So doing those long sits, like what we're doing right now. Notice he hasn't gotten up at all this time, right? Which is really good. So I want to see you hit that point where when he's getting up, no, you're giving that correction. You're getting him back into that position. So he's realizing, no, sit. That you're in control of those things, you know, and there's not emotion attached to it or anything. It's simply like, nope, that's wrong. You're getting a correction for it. You need to stay there, you know.